everyone, it's your boy LFC Clavi here, and today what I'm about to discuss is why they all doubted Arne Slot from the beginning. It is important that we look back at the predictions that pundits came up with at the beginning of the season and how it blew up in their faces during the season. And of course, as always, pundits are going to change their minds. They are going to say something different when things change. For me, I think punditry is the easiest job in the world to do because you can always change your mind. You can say something today, and then tomorrow you wake up and you see that things didn't really go the way you said it was going to go, and then you just change it without any consequences. Nobody arrests you, nobody sues you or takes you to court to inflict damages on you for you to be liable for paying some huge or hefty fees. So they just say whatever they want, and at the end of the day, they know they have a chance to say otherwise or to correct themselves if they end up getting it wrong. The reason why they said Liverpool weren't going to win anything or Liverpool wasn't going to challenge for the Premier League is the fact that Klopp, who is an iconic figure, a legend of the club, was leaving and Slot was replacing him. And because Slot was a relatively unknown coach in England, they thought that it was going to be a struggle for him to replace Jurgen Klopp. Now, before I go on, people, what are you waiting for? Smash the like button. Just smash it. It doesn't cost a thing. Hit the subscribe button for more videos from this channel and help me to grow this channel. Thank you very much for doing it. Now, the reason why they doubted Slot had nothing to do with Slot himself, but it had everything to do with what other people had done. And for me, this is an important lesson in life. In life, do not allow anybody to judge you based on what other people have done. If the criticism or the reason why people think you can't do something is the mere fact that other people haven't been able to do it, ignore them. It has nothing to do with you. So there is no need to even think about it. So they doubted Arne Slot only because David Moyes couldn't do it after Fergie left. Unai Emery couldn't do it after Arsene Wenger left. But these are two different people, and they inherited squads that were completely different from what Arne Slot was inheriting. The second issue is that they didn't really look at Arne Slot's track record. They just rubbished everything he had done in the Eredivisie and thought that the Premier League was so special. Even though football is the same everywhere you go. Football is played with the same rules, with the same size of nets, with the same size of a ball, with the same size of pitch. Of course, there are different standard types of pitches, but everything else is the same. Coaching in Eredivisie is not necessarily different from coaching in the Premier League. And I think this notion that the Premier League is the biggest and the best league in the world has gotten into the heads of so many pundits. And because of that, they failed to do their research. They didn't really look into Arne Slot. They just came up with reasons why he was going to fail because maybe they were wishing that he fails. So for me, that is what I think. I think most of these pundits were wishing that Arne Slot fails. Now, of course, there are some Liverpool pundits or pundits who have a soft spot for Liverpool, who also predicted doom and gloom for the team, but maybe because they were trying to be balanced in their analysis. Jamie Carragher is a typical example. He tries to be balanced in his analysis and he ends up saying a whole load of sometimes, right? Sometimes the stuff he says, because he's trying to be balanced, turns out to be a bit let's end it there. So they didn't really look into Anna Slot. They jacked him because other people couldn't do it. And because of that fact that other people couldn't do it, they concluded that he couldn't do it. But what about taking some time to look at the work that he has done? For me, coming from the Eredivisie, Anna Slot hadn't inherited a squad as good as Liverpool's team. He had never in his entire career inherited a squad that was anywhere near as good as the Liverpool team that he was going to work with. So for me, that alone was a reason to be optimistic about the season ahead. So I was very optimistic because I knew that looking at the squad that he inherited at Feyenoord, he won the league with Feyenoord in his second season. Before he came to Feyenoord, he was at AZ Alkmaar. In his first season as the head coach of AZ Alkmaar, he finished joint top of the league before COVID-19 brought an abrupt end to the league in 2020. So looking at these two, for me, what he did was highly exceptional. For you to take a team like AZ Alkmaar, who didn't have a winning squad, these players he met in his first season as the head coach of AZ Alkmaar didn't have any winning mentality whatsoever. And he was able to get them to play consistent football week in, week out, to win games on a consistent basis, to finish joint top with Ajax. And so for him to be coming to Liverpool, where a huge chunk of the players are proven winners, he wasn't going to have a lot of trouble motivating them and making sure that they are able to stay consistent week in, week out to win games. I don't think, for me, I thought that was going to be an easy peasy job for him because the kind of players he was working with at even Feyenoord, those were not proven winners. They hadn't won anything in their careers. Feyenoord hadn't won the Eredivisie for the past 6 or 9 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it had been quite long since Feyenoord won the Eredivisie. And so maybe there might have been 1 or 2 players in the squad who had won something, but a huge chunk of the players he worked with had no winning mentality whatsoever. They weren't used to winning. But in the space of 2 seasons, he was able to get them winning the Eredivisie, losing just 2 matches on their way to the title. So for me, if I extrapolate what he did at the Eredivisie to coaching Liverpool in the Premier League, I always thought that he was going to close that 9-point gap that Liverpool finished with relative to Manchester City, who won the league. So for me, my estimation was that Liverpool finished 9 points off the team that won the Premier League the season before, 2023-24 season. And the only expectation that I had was that if Anna Slot could close that 9-point gap, we win the league. Or if he could close that 9-point gap and still don't win the league, he's done a good job. And I think, of course, because these teams fell off, City and Arsenal, Liverpool didn't have to get 90 points, right? So that is why we didn't get it. Don't get me wrong, I've seen a whole lot of rhetoric online from rival fans saying that Liverpool got lower points and blah, 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 blah. I mean, we all know why Liverpool didn't get to 90 points. After winning the Premier League, we were left with 4 matches. Liverpool could have gotten a maximum of 91 points, and we ended up with 84 points. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the reason why we didn't get to 90 points is because we had already won the league. And I think there's one thing about Anna Slot that many people haven't really realized. This guy plays the long game. He doesn't care too much about the immediate and now. If it were to be other coaches, they would insist on flogging the players to make sure that they win the remaining 4 games. But to what end? How does that affect the players' fitness for the following season? I think Anna Slot is already thinking about next season. And that is the reason why he didn't really insist on players running themselves in the ground, because next season we need to start strong. And I think he's fully concentrated on that. So there was no need to flog players or to put pressure on players to keep going into tackles or going over the board in the last 4 matches. So that is why we couldn't get the 90 points. But the English media is like this. If you listen to the English media, you always get some sort of narrative that, for me, seems like it's an agenda that is being peddled. For the longest time, whenever I listen to the English media, their opinions, especially about Liverpool, because I am a Liverpool fan and I know a lot more about Liverpool than many pundits do, because I follow the club much more closely than they do, because they have to pay attention to a whole lot of things, or maybe because they are lazy and they don't really do their jobs well. So in most cases, when I listen to them, I do find myself disagreeing with most of the things they say. And for this particular case about Arne Slot, they did get it badly wrong. Because if you think about it, there was no reason for them to write off Liverpool, a team that had finished third the season prior and was at the top of the table until April. Liverpool only fell off in April. There was less than 10 matches to play. And the reason why Liverpool fell off was quite obvious. It was due to injuries. And the reason why the injuries kept coming was because of the style of play, right? And the only thing that this season Arne Slot did was to change the style of play, make it a bit slower, make it a bit less strenuous on the players, so that players could rest within games and also across games. And it is for that reason that the team stayed relatively fit throughout the season. I also hear a lot of people talking about the fact that Arne Slot only won the league because he had a player like Salah in his team. Right. So because Salah had an unusual season, a season that happens once in a lifetime, that is why Liverpool won the league. But have you asked yourself why Salah had the season he had this time? Is it a coincidence that he had this particular great season when Arne Slot arrived? And do you think that Arne Slot had no influence on that? For me, I think that one is the cause of the other. Arne Slot is what caused Salah to have this great season, because he had only had a similar season once in his first season when he came to Liverpool. So the fact that he's having that season again, for me, it's not a fluke. It is due to the way the team has been set up to get the best out of some players. It is not just Salah. The way Gravenberch has played and influenced Liverpool's results this season, it is not a coincidence. It is a deliberate attempt by Arne Slot and his coaching staff to get the best out of these players. Even Luis Diaz and Cody Gakpo, the way those guys have contributed to the goals and assists for the team, it is not a coincidence. It is not a fluke. And so if you say that Liverpool has Salah, and so that is why we won the league, you should also know that Liverpool have had Salah for the past 4 seasons, and we haven't won the league. We've only gone close once in those 4 seasons, and Salah was still there. So that argument is a complete, I don't want to say the word. So that is what I have for you today. Thank you, and see ya.